Hello, today is September 1st, 251. I'm starting to have an issue through a spectrum, a light spectrum on myself, including a feeling of a risk of copyright of a neural spectrum of my own brain waves. I feel like I'm being victimized, and I like to prove it. And I feel the community is also, there's other citizens of Americans who want to similar, and it's risking identity theft. And I would like to prove it. And there's a spectrum, a feeling of intruder, overlapping leadership in their own identities, and it's starting to become a nuisance. And be self aware that it feels like cyber terrorism, the feeling that it's risking their own leadership or even can misguide. But give me 1 second. I want to come right back. I need to charge. Sorry. I need to get the charger. Sorry about that. I'm starting to get the idea when there's an intruder interrupting the spectrum, interrupt the clarity. It's not normal to be resented by things like this in the community. The thing is, I used to be part of a team, and it was in sports, and to recognize that I, for some reason, it feels like there's some kind of hate crime, and from in the community where there's some type of hacking where it can cause coercion right through a spectrum, where there's interfering or even a puppetry of enemy interrupting their own subconscious. My name is Sheldon, Sheldon, Maytum, Maytum. Um, and I would like to prove my innocence, but I'm also feel there's a group of hackers involved in some kind of cyber ring or creating their own cyber ring or even organize the feeling that it's reshaping leadership right through a spectrum or the thing is to be self-aware, and it's a risk to keep things secure. And when things are not secure, you get the idea that there's intruder that's as a sign we have a safety scenario to at least recite it to need to regain security. Um, when I'm speaking, there's a new way. You get the idea where each person has a spectrum. So now there's a new way to identify it. And they call it spectrum waves of brain waves. Each identity has different brain waves. Each one is going to have a different spectrum. It's awful if to mislead leadership or even be a failure to help be involved, because I kind of convinced it can create an neglecting crowds or even the feeling that there's other mob orders or even attempting to have puppetry over or even to make it appear I'm not part of any mob. But the thing is, I'm getting the feeling that there's a cyber ring that has its own mob that is a threat of its to me, or that there's a mob structure where there's a feeling of organized crime, or at least you can get the idea, get a hint. Um, I'm a bit worn out. I'm seriously worn out. I barely. It's, yeah, it's important to have a meal. I need a friend to actually, can make a meal every now. I feel extremely worn out. Where there's a spectrum talking to identify it. I was going to call a hotline to at least to for them to do a spectrum test or to get the idea that a hacker. I feel that I'm at risk of copywriting of neural thought of brainwaves of Sheldon Mayton. Like I said, if there's a real identity, it can actually that's a risk. I would think there's a lawsuit to that, or each person, if they're going some similar inertia, or at least they're at risk of their own. So there's some type of risk of copywriting their brainwaves, or at least then you get the idea there's predictive programming, where then it gets pretty damn good. But at least you get. But the only bad part is when there is it can be overwhelmed when things become intense for so many years. And I've been experiencing the feeling of this intense spectrum, or even the feeling that there's a new way. If it's in, there's an cause intensity, or even radiation. There's such thing as 5G interface, but then it has a spectrum of its own stuff. But there's different spectrums. You would get the idea. Even if I was going to school, or even I will feel fascinated, and then you're in the right. Then it just feeling familiar. You don't really look awful, but the thing is, um, I'm unable to actually. I'm having a serious issue. I'm being embraced by a team in Sacramento, or even a group of police officers. The group of police officers refuse to embrace me as a team member. They refuse, at least to ask why. And I kind of convinced that they're using a life spectrum of my own identity, or even there's a fabricating porns, or they're involved in porns or sexual misconduct, but not just that. There might be organized crime, or even not just organized crime. There's sabotaging court crimes through fabricating. So the thing is, it's when it's such a big, massive crime where the spectrum is already causing a crime to its own self. So be self-aware. Doesn't mean they're dumb, okay? And at least I want my own identity back, and I would like to have mm, new friends, or even new teams. The thing is, it's important to have that bond. It's not normal for to push it away, or at least to get the idea of people are pushing me away, and that's the feeling of a hate crime. And officers didn't want to give me none of their cards. I asked for their card because I was like, hey, I need to call somebody, and I'm telling you I need to call somebody, and you don't want to give me your card. And I asked each one of them, and you're like, I said, hey, and I'm it's to the point where I feel I'm going through discrimination, and I should be entitled to a discrimination lawsuit. I'm born in America. I might have a Wisconsin voice. My father's from Wisconsin, but the thing is, um, I have also been to Mount Rushmore. I've seen the four presidents. But the thing is, there is a big issue with the life spectrum and my own identity, and even if there's a cybernetic world or cyber throne, it can cause actual, or even there's the Wall Street. I can imagine Wall Street citing Sheldon Matum, and there's a life spectrum to it, an actual identity to it, and it's causing a nuisance, not even your own manifestations, and you're seeking the team and friendship, or actually, I can imagine getting that from Wall Street. But the thing is, um, I am, I worry for my health. I feel I'm at risk of cancer, or even brain cancer, blood cancer, and I tried to tell them that, and it's I guess it's to the point where, at least to be said, there's a spectrum in the radio, and there's a group, or feeling there's a hate crime or the leadership or discrimination against a Sheldon. Or but the thing is, when there's a large crowd, it's just a bit too to the point where there's crowds and millions or billions that happen to have a dysfunctional mindset to it. It's almost like I said, a feeling of a religious hate crime, because now it's to the point where it's a bit to the point where you can identify religion and how what's their and how the thing is some do have slaves, but the thing is I don't necessarily, it sounds awful, but the thing is, our own president. So, like I said, I try to bring up the president. So I don't necessarily. Our own president has a has a connection to that. The thing is, I have the same ethnicity. Okay, but I'm having an issue. Okay, the feeling of my own identity or their identity of their own offspring of their spectrum is going through a security breach, or even the feeling of tampering. And I like to have a team. I like to gain a team. Like to gain friendship and speak up.